Welcome to Total Agent Access, where we interview the most inspiring real estate agents in the world to share with you the best advice from our brightest minds. With your host, me, Colin Bredner. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm pretty excited because I am with, he doesn't know this, but he completely changed the way that myself and my team work our YouTube channel. We have none other than Levi Lascsak. And am I saying your last name correctly?
Yes, you did actually. So congratulations.
Excellent. I have one of the last names too that nobody seems to be able to pronounce. So I feel your pain as well. So thanks a lot for being on the podcast. And I have to say right off the bat, Levi is the co-author of this amazing book called Passive Prospecting, Dominate Your Market Without Cold Calling, Chasing Clients, or Spending Money on Ads. I read this, I think, in a couple hours, and we have applied everything that you have taught in this book to our YouTube channel, and about 1 in every 3 leads that we're generating right now are coming from our YouTube channel. And I have a small city, like I'm in a small city of 80,000.
Wow.
And YouTube really, really works, especially the way you lay it out. So anybody that's listening to this podcast, go and get Levi's book. It'll change your life.
Thank you. Wow, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's funny how far you can reach and touch each other's businesses and have impact. You're in Texas. What city in Texas are you from?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. I'm going to be there in June. I'm looking forward to it. And so are you originally from Dallas? Did you grow up there?
I grew up about 2 hours south of Dallas in a very small country town called Stephenville, Texas. And I joke around and say, if you're not riding bulls or milking cows, not really much else to do there. So it is that true country, bumpkin town, you could say. I mean, Friday Night Lights was a big deal. I mean, that was the biggest draw other than the rodeo, high school football. We have a college there. And what's funny is that in high school, we played at the college stadium, and we would pack it out on Friday night, and they would have overflow seats and everything. And then at the college game on Saturday, there'd be about 10 people in the stands. So it wasn't. It was just interesting. So and they still use that college. I'm surprised they haven't built their own stadium yet. But other than that, yeah, I mean, there's not much going on there. But as soon as I could, get myself to Dallas, I knew I always wanted to be in the city.
Right. And what do you like to do in Dallas on your spare time?
Well, lots of things. I mean, anything active. I like being outside, biking or exercise. If it works up a sweat, I tend to like that. So especially during the spring, summer, fall, I love to get out and bike for a couple of hours sometimes. And, we'll go to, we've got lakes around there. So I don't get out on the lake as much as I would like to, but that is a big deal because we don't have mountains or beaches in Dallas. So we have to shimmy on over to the lakes. There's some good hiking trails around there on top of that. So that's always fun. And then otherwise, I like just kind of hanging out sometimes, going, grabbing coffee, grabbing lunch, just kind of window shopping here or there. Sometimes it's just nice to just relax and enjoy the weekend,
Well, I'll extend the invitation right now that if you need some mountains to come and visit, you're more than welcome to come up here to Northern Canada because we have them in spades. So feel free. Feel free to visit anytime.
Are you close to Banff? I went to Banff for the first time last year.
Yeah. Banff is about, drive. It's about 6 hours away from me.
Okay.
It's funny because before I got into real estate, I was a chef and I worked at the big hotel there in Banff.
Oh, yeah. The one on the side of the mountain?
You got it. Yeah. The Banff Springs Hotel.
That's where we stayed at. So.
Beautiful part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing.
And to go even farther back, my grandparents met each other while working at that hotel in the 1920s.
Interesting.
So I got a little bit of history with the Banff Springs Hotel. What did you do before you got into real estate?
Well, a little bit of everything. I mean, I got into the military to get out of the country town. I mean, my parents didn't go to college. My two older brothers didn't go to college. And, most people that still live in that town are, work minimum wage jobs. There's not a lot of job opportunities. There's like two factories there. And, I'm not even sure the college professors at the local college make a ton of money. So it's not really known for high paying jobs, unless you own a dairy farm, maybe. But I just knew I wanted to get out of there, but I wasn't sure how because, with my parents never going to college, they never knew how to show me a path out of there as well. And so I just thought, well, maybe I'll join the military, get some money for college, and that should be the easy way. Of course, think about somebody saying, yeah, let me join the military. That's the easy way. Well, that was 1999. And I thought, the world was at peace, nobody was going to mess with us anymore. The last Gulf War ended in 8 days. And it'd been 10 years or so since that one. So I was kind of like, yeah, who's going to mess around? The world's at peace. Everything's good, kumbaya. And I'll just get in the military and get some easy college money. And so I did, about 2 years of training. And then I came back to Dallas. And I was still in the reserves. So, and I met a friend of mine who's a good friend of mine now, still to this day, but this guy named Michael Reese, and he recruited me to start selling gym memberships at Bally Total Fitness. So that's where I started my sales journey. And he took me to my first Brian Tracy event. I'd never even heard of, motivational speakers or sales trainers and Brian Tracy's more of a sales trainer, I would say, but self-development as well, psychology of sales, those types of things. First time I'd ever seen anything like that. And I was probably 21 years old and it just blew me away. And so that started me on the path of self-education. Ever since then, I've been a big, believer in buying programs and books and everything else. One of my prized possessions is my bookshelf. So it's and I like to buy hardcover. So anytime a new book comes out, I'll buy the hardcover and stick it on the shelf. And so, yeah, I started out with selling gym memberships, and then I was still in the reserves. Michael got into real estate and he wanted me to become an agent at that time, but I really wasn't interested in becoming an agent. And he finally talked me into it. And I did get licensed actually in 2004, but I had my license for about 1 week. And since I was still in the reserves, I got a call from my captain and she was like, hey, we're getting deployed to Iraq and report to Fort Hood in 4 days. And so
holy smokes,
I had to say my goodbyes, pack my bags and head down to Fort Hood. And then next thing I know, I was, gone for 18 months and I spent 12 months of that in Iraq. So whenever I came back home, I got into selling cell phones at Costco. If you've ever been inside of Costco and that you see that little cell phone booth inside there.
Yep. We have one up here. So
yep. And that's where, yep. And so I wanted to get a job. My friend Michael Reese, still wanted me to be an agent. He's like, oh, now that you're back, come back and be a real estate agent. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I decided I don't want to be an agent. So that whole time I was gone, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So I let my license expire and I got into selling cell phones at Costco, which was, not a big deal, but I became the top salesperson there. I was the top salesperson at Bally's with the gym memberships. And at the time, I was like 25 years old and I was making 60,000, 70,000 selling cell phones out of Costco. And I would work for like 4 days a week. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And,
life was good,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, life was simple. And then 8 months into that, they promoted me to a district manager and I went off to New York and I took over 9 stores in Long Island. So I spent a year up in New York and then I got an offer to go back to Dallas as with the pharmaceutical company. Now, the funny thing was I got into the military to get money for college and I ended up not really ever going to college either. And then because this person thought I was such a good salesperson at cell phones, they said, you'd be great in pharmaceuticals. And so they recruited me to this company and I interviewed, but they don't hire people without a college degree. But I was able to make it through the interview processes, even interviewing with the vice president of sales. And he, they made the choice to hire me on, probably the first person they hired on ever without a college degree. And so and so I worked with them for about 8 years, and again doing sales, and until I got really sick, and I had acquired a digestive disease in Iraq, and so it messed with me for about 8 years until 2013. And then I ended up losing 50 pounds in a single month, and
Wow.
became completely bedridden and disabled at 33 years old, and that nearly killed me. So I was on my deathbed for about 3 months, just trying out all these different avenues, approaches. Saw 4 different GI doctors. They put through every medication they could at me, even IV antibiotics, steroids, all kinds of stuff. Couldn't get me better. And it was, I say, God's grace that led me to a natural doctor, which I had never even considered natural medicine or even heard of it. But I was like, okay, I'll try anything, and went to a natural doctor, and he goes, "Yeah, let's just change your diet and put you on some vitamins." I was like, "Wait, what?"
It can't be that simple, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what's running through your head.
Well, the funny thing, within 3 weeks, I started to get better. And then, 30, 60 days later, I had gained my appetite back, was able to hold down food, and started to gain back my weight. And it took me a full year to recover because my body was so beat up. But naturally, I recovered naturally, no medication, no surgery. And still to this day, it's been, over 10 years now, and never had a single issue. And I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that the doctors told me I would never be cured from. I'd be on medication for the rest of my life, and all these terrible scenarios. And once I beat that, I've never had a problem since then. So from there, I lost that job, though, because when you have a job, they only let you go on leave for so long. And so I was on leave for 90 days. And they were like, "Well, you maxed out your leave, so either come back to work or we got to let you go." So they had to let me go, and that's whenever I realized too, I guess I'm never going to have a job ever again, because I didn't know at that time, would this condition ever hit me again? Would it come back? And so that's where I started my financial services business. And there, I started to work with teachers on retirement planning. I started to get contracts with the schools, and which was, once you did that, once you got a contract with the school, it allowed you to go in and meet with teachers, but then also set up their retirement plans on payroll deduction. So it became very lucrative because you have very target market. And then I started doing extremely well, multiple six figures a year. And then, but I only worked 8 months of the year. So I had a teacher's schedule, but, 5-6 times the teacher's income. And I was really living my best life at that time and traveling the world. I went to 24 countries and was having a blast. And then 2020 happened, and the world shut down, schools shut down, travel shut down, my life shut down, and I was like, okay, what's the next move? And I was 41 years old now at that time. 41 years old, going, okay, what's the next move? Like, I'm not going to get a job. There was 31 million layoffs in the U.S. What business do you start in the middle of a pandemic, unless you're going to sell toilet paper? Maybe, I don't know. But again, and my friend Michael Reese, after 20 years, here he comes back and he's like, "Hey, now's a good time to get in real estate." And I was just like, man, I just really don't want to be a real estate agent. But I didn't really see another option. And I was really scared to death of starting over at 41 years old. And also, I know how hard agents work in their first few years. I mean, most of them their whole career. so
oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I see what they have to do, and they typically cold call and door knock, or, talk to friends and family, work their sphere, those types of things, open houses to build up their business, which is understandable. But I wasn't really interested in doing those types of things. I was kind of like, man, I had, again, starting over, that's what I just starting from the bottom, and not just real estate, but any industry. That's what I've realized is, like, no matter what I do, I'm going to have to start from the bottom and just rebuild everything. But prospecting was just something that I was not interested in. I'd always been so good at sales because I was always the best prospector. So when I sold memberships, when I sold cell phones, when I sold pharmaceuticals, or even with the teachers, I still had to get my appointments. But I did so well because I was willing to prospect nonstop, constantly. I mean, uh, I remember at the gym, we would make phone calls for 8 hours a day just to try to get 5 appointments, try to get 5 people in the gym the very next day to tour the gym, because you could only sell a membership likely if you're going to get somebody in the gym, tour the gym, and then get them to commit to a membership, right? But people
Yep.
just don't always walk in the gym. So we had to make phone calls to try to get people in the gym. So I'd be on the phone 6 to 8 hours a day just to try to get 5 appointments the next day. And that was the whole goal. You couldn't stop calling until you had that. So, and if you got somebody to book the day after or 3 days later, nope, you had to have 5 appointments the very next day is how you had to keep calling. So that was tough, but I did that. And when I sold cell phones, nobody goes to Costco to buy cell phones. So I would talk to every single person that got within, 20 feet of that booth. A lot of people would sit back in that booth and sit there and hang out. I was outside walking around, talking to people in the TV section, the clothing section. If they got within 20 feet, I was talking to them. I was prospecting, right?
Yeah.
Pharmaceuticals. I had to go to doctors' offices, chase them down, figure out their hours. When would the least amount of reps be in their office? I used to go to a doctor's office at 6 a.m. because he literally opened his practice at 6 a.m. and there was not a single other, rep that would show up at that time. So I was the only one. And guess what? I looked pretty cool to him because I was willing to get up when he was up and be in his office at 6 a.m., to meet with him. And so, I always went out of my way. Same thing with teachers. So I was always the best prospector, but I was tired of it, and I was like, and then thinking of starting over, no matter what industry, I knew I was going to have to get into prospecting. And I was just thinking, no, no, I don't want to do that. So
this is not what I want to do again.
No, yeah, not at all. So I just decided to be patient during 2020 and just do as much research as possible and think, okay, if I actually do get into real estate, I need a plan. I need some sort of way to attract business. And Michael's was with this brokerage, right? Called EXP. And so, he was talking about this whole attraction model with the brokerage. So that word attraction was really kind of stuck in my head. And I just started thinking, okay, they like to attract people. I get it. But what if you could attract clients? What if you could attract people? What if you could get people to come to you and want to buy or sell homes, through your efforts online versus just, pursuing people all the time? But, it was that's what I had to think about. So I had to start just digging down and saying, okay, how can I do that? How can I step into a market like Dallas, Texas, which is, you could say saturated with agents. You could say has some of the top brands and brokerages and agents in the world are in Dallas. Like, how do I step into that? How do I make a dent? How do I even get anybody to notice me? So those were all just questions I was asking myself, and how can I stand out? And I wanted to figure out a plan. And if I could see a plan, then I was going to get into real estate. I think a lot of people get into real estate and then they try to figure out a plan, which is why they typically go, 3 or 4 or 5 months, sometimes maybe not making money. But I just wanted to do things differently this time. And I said, okay, let me take time. The world's shut down anyways. Let me, I'm going to refrain from watching Tiger King and just do some research. Right? so
It's very, very, very difficult at that time not to watch Tiger King.
Right. So I just did research instead, and I tried to figure out a way. What could I attract business? And ultimately, it was like, okay, I'm going to have to do that through social, but which platform? And that's the thing is I didn't want to. I think a big mistake a lot of people make starting out, no matter what their business is, but especially agents, is they get started and somebody tells them, okay, congratulations. Guess what? You need to be everywhere. Okay, that you need to open up Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and and then usually they leave YouTube off that list. So then an agent opens up all these accounts and they feel productive because they've opened up 5 different social accounts. They've made it their business account. And then they're like, oh, wait a second, I got to create content for 5 different accounts. And I think that you end up putting 20% effort, if that, across 5 different accounts. Instead of just opening one account, going all in 100% on that one account. If you master one platform, it'll be so much easier to branch off to other platforms down the road than it will be to try to start 5 different platforms at once. And yeah,
especially YouTube,
yeah,
because
well,
you can repurpose long form content. And
yeah,
I always say that to people, don't get overwhelmed, pick one and do it really, really well.
yeah, and that's the thing. And you could easily record a short form piece of content and post that on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn and Twitter. But the reality is that the videos that perform the best on those platforms are created for those platforms. So just posting that same video across 5 different platforms is not really the same as creating specific content for that platform. Now, you might get some traction, but still, you're going to have to do that posting through 5 different. So you're going to have to do the same thing over and over again. But I looked at all of that, and none of it really seemed to fit my personality either. So that's the reason once I started to realize that YouTube was a search engine, not really a social platform, that also made me a lot more comfortable with it, because I had really not had a social presence up to that point either. So, and I think a lot of 40-year-olds and above have that love-hate relationship with social media, because it wasn't there in high school, wasn't there in college probably. Yeah, it came around in your late 20s or early 30s. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I'll get an account because my friends and family have an account, right? And we never really started to do anything with it until we start looking at all these 20 and 30-year-olds start making money with social, right? And now we start going, okay, maybe there's something here. And then we start getting, dabbling. We don't really go all in. And that's where I was as well. And I said, nope, this time I understand how powerful these platforms are now. So I need to understand the platform. I need to study the platform, but I need to choose one. I decided on YouTube. And also I looked at my market, I looked at Dallas, Texas. And at the time there was really like two channels in all of Dallas, Texas for all the agents out there that had, a YouTube presence. So I thought, well, that's not saturation, right? There's a gap in the market. So
blue ocean.
Yep. And so that's what I chose. YouTube, focused 100% on that, and really still do focus on that. I still haven't even really ventured off into the other platforms. We definitely post on them, but I don't typically make specific content. I'm not studying the algorithms. I'm not trying to figure out all the stuff to make it work. And YouTube, still feeds us, very generously. So I haven't really had to do that either.
Awesome. So can you give some advice to those that haven't started a YouTube channel? What should they do first?
Yeah, they should get the book Passive Prospecting.
Absolutely. Right here. I'll hold it up again.
Yeah, there you go. That is the cheapest way you can really start. That book is $20. That's a steal on Amazon. So, but to lay out as much information, if you're starting from zero, or you've had a channel that hasn't gotten any traction, which we find that quite often as well. Agents start channels all the time, post videos, sometimes for years. I love one of our people, Chris Snow in Jacksonville. I love his story because he had a channel for 5 years and only had 22 subscribers, and was still making content every week after 5 years. And I tell you what, that's tenacity right there, because I probably would have quit after 1 or 2 years of only 22 subs, zero business. And we just showed him how to tweak a few things, do things a little bit differently. And then within 6 months, he had 600 subscribers, had 2 to 3 deals under contract, had about 4 or 5 others pending. It was a massive change just by making a little bit of a shift. So the book is really a great place to start. But other than that, my advice is always have a little bit of a plan. And I'm not talking about analysis paralysis. I'm talking about studying a little bit. And, something I say is that you can hyper learn any subject in 60 days. So if you sat down and you wanted to move into YouTube, I would study the platform for 60 days. Our book is a great place to start. There's other marketing books on YouTube you could buy that you could read for that perspective, and also to understand more of foundations and principles. And then you could, of course, watch YouTube videos about how to build out a platform, how to look at different aspects of creating content, when to publish, how to publish video, all that stuff. I dug into that. Now I break a lot of that down in the book to save somebody a lot of time, but otherwise you can, you can find all the information out there that you need to get started. Of course, we've curated a lot of that, and what I talk about, I've learned over the past 3 years now. So that's one way to fast forward and fast track your learning. But otherwise, if you wanted to sit down and let's say you didn't even have money for the passive prospecting book, say that's how tight things were, get onto YouTube and start learning how to make YouTube videos by watching other YouTube videos. And so many people teach YouTube on YouTube, so you could do that for free.
What do you think the best content pillars for somebody going on to YouTube? Like, what kind of videos should somebody be making?
Yeah, for real estate agents, it's the basics that I see that you should start out with, which are neighborhood tours, taking people around different neighborhoods in your area, being the expert on that. We're working a lot in new construction right now. That's a very hot topic. And new construction communities. I mean, I think almost 95% of our deals under contract right now are probably new construction. The millennials right now are the largest buying population, and I just don't think they want that 1990s or the 2000 built home, or even the 10-year-old home. They're like, oh, I mean, at least in Dallas and a lot of other parts of the country. I'm not sure about new construction in your area, but of course, Dallas is expanding drastically. So everyone's like, well, shoot, I can just get a brand new house, all the bells and whistles, all the amenities. So we feature a lot of those neighborhoods. So featuring new construction neighborhoods, especially if they have extremely attractive amenities. And in Dallas, they're getting crazy with their amenities. I mean, you don't even have to go on vacation on some of these communities because you have everything you need in your backyard. So there's that. Pros and cons are very simple videos to do that still get a lot of traction. Map tours, we do that where we just walk people through the maps of local cities or suburbs. Boring to me to make, really, but and I think they would be boring, but they're some of our most viewed videos. And listicle videos. Listicle videos are videos that contain lists. So top 5 this, top 6 that, something along those lines, and that's really 4 of the key content pillars that you could be making on there. There's many more, but those are the 4 main ones that we usually recommend people get started with.
So once you studied it and you got everything up and running, tell me about the moment that it all clicked for you, in that aha moment where you're like, okay, I'm on to something here. I don't have to go and do prospecting like I did at my other sales job. YouTube is now working.
I got the first phone call in 30 days with only 48 subscribers. So that's
a great conversion rate.
Well, hey, it was a big deal. I mean, it raises your belief level through the roof, right? Because all you need, that first phone call, you're like, oh, okay, this does work. And then you get your first client or start showing them homes or have a listing appointment. Then it becomes extremely real. And then whenever you close the first deal, it's just a compound effect from there. So, for me, it was just that first phone call gave me the motivation to just keep going. Because, in the beginning, when you're creating videos, just like almost any sales job, you start doing that work, prospecting, whether you're making videos or actually making phone calls, that's a lot of alone time, usually. Not everybody has a spouse in the business or a business partner. So if you're just working it, which is what I did started out, I mean, you just wonder sometimes, am I doing the right thing? Is this gonna work out? Am I doing all this work for nothing? When will I get paid? All those questions come up. So
that's always a big one.
Yeah.
When will I get paid?
Exactly.
So when you first started, how were you making the videos? Because, maybe somebody doesn't have a lot of cash and they're just getting going. Did you shoot them yourself? Mm-hmm. Edit them yourself? How did you begin?
I shot everything on an iPhone 11 Pro, and I had a $20 tripod that I used it to give me a little distance, so I wasn't just holding the phone in front of my face. I had a good microphone, and that was pretty much it there. And the funny thing is I'm traveling right now. I stopped into somebody that I work with, and stopped in their office, and I'm actually on my iPhone right now. So even the iPhone can work for podcast or interviews or things like that. And if I didn't say that, most people would probably think, oh, he's got a pretty good camera there. So yeah, I used an iPhone and shot it myself, but I always had an editing budget. I've always paid somebody to edit the videos just because I had zero interest in editing. I didn't want to do it. And if I would have edited a video, I probably would have quit after one video. So if you're, yeah, if you're not good at that, I mean, it's a skill. I mean, a lot of people can do it, but if you want to do it well, it takes time, energy, and effort. And I don't think that's an agent's best use of time is editing videos. I would rather make more videos and pay somebody to edit. So then shoot one video and edit. And, most videographers or editors, they'll tell you, if you film for a day, it may take you a whole nother day or even two to edit that video. So I'm talking about if I wanted to make 3 videos a week, I'm already running out of time right there. Otherwise, I'd be working 7 days a week, just on trying to film and edit my videos. But if I can film 3 videos in one day, that gives me 3 videos a week, and those can get edited by somebody else. That allows me to work the other 6 days, show homes, write contracts, whatever else I need to do, hang out with the family even. That's just a part of it, right? And so, yeah, editing could be extremely time consuming, could be extremely frustrating. And if you try to learn that on your own, you run the risk of quitting very soon in the process.
What kind of advice would you give somebody to find their first editor?
Well, we help with that too. So, that's one way to do it. It's, or we actually help people. We refer them to a recruiting company, a VA company. We have a full blown agency that we do that for people. And again, they would come through our programs and they would get stuck, because they would try to find editors or hire them or hire somebody, train them, and then they quit 2 weeks later, disappear. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So, we created that company out of a necessity to help serve our own clients because we didn't want them getting stuck. We didn't want people going through the program and then just not getting started. So we developed that. They can either work with us, no obligation, or they can go on somewhere like Upwork or Fiverr or these places where they might be able to find a VA, or they could, some people have a VA or an assistant or somebody already on staff that can handle it. So there's several different ways you can do it.
How often do you think somebody should be posting on their YouTube channel?
I think, more in the beginning. I think you want to get through the reps. You want to create muscle memory. You want to get in the groove. I published 3 videos a week for the first 2 years. That gave me a lot of reps. Yeah. If I would have published 1 video a week for 2 years, think about it. It would have taken me 6 years to publish the same amount of videos I did in the first 2 years. So I like to hyper speed everything. And I noticed in my market, those 2 channels that were there were only publishing once a week. So I figured, well, if I publish 3 times a week, maybe I'll catch them or maybe even pass them up if I triple their efforts. And really that's exactly what happened. So, do I do that now? No, I publish 1 to 2 videos a week now, but I have a very established audience. We get a lot of attraction and traction on the channel. So, I'm a little bit more lenient on that. But otherwise, when I was trying to build the brand and the channel, I published 3 videos a week for 2 years without ever missing a beat. And that was on purpose, and you can grow as fast as you will publish content. So if you want to front load it like I did, then just commit and say, hey, I'm going to do 2 to 3 videos. That's going to get you there a lot faster than just doing 1 video.
It's hard to be consistent. Like I can speak for myself. It's hard to be consistent. And I admire people like yourself who were able to do it 3 times a week. That's very difficult. What kind of advice could you give somebody so that they stay consistent?
Schedule it. Make it a non-negotiable. So if you commit to filming on Tuesday afternoon, you have to film on Tuesday afternoon. If you're going to be out of town for a week vacation or at a conference or go travel to Europe, then guess what? You need to double up. You may need to film 6 videos that week instead of 3. Which actually right now, perfect example. I'm in Vegas. I'm traveling and I'm going to be here for 3 weeks. not because I'm a drinker or a gambler, but because I've got, speaking opportunities. I've got mastermind. It just all kind of snowballed that there was these three events back to back, like week after week. And we just thought, well, instead of just flying back and forth, time zone changes every 2 or 3 days and being home for a day or two and then flying back and then, blah, blah, blah. Let's just take a road trip and hang out in Vegas for 3 weeks, go see some sights, go do some hiking, go to a couple of Vegas shows. And what did I do? I doubled up on all my content before I left. So this whole 3 weeks, I don't have to worry about filming content while I'm here. It's already there. It's already being edited and it'll be scheduled and published while I'm here. So whenever I get back to Dallas, I'll pick up where I left off. But otherwise, I have plenty of content built up. And that allows me to do things like this, to travel. If I wanted to be in Europe for 3 weeks, I wouldn't worry about the business. I know leads are going to keep coming in. Videos are still going to get published. So other than that, I dedicate a day for outdoor filming. Wednesdays is our day that we go out, and that day is blocked off. And so normally we can knock out easily 2 videos if we want, and two neighborhood tours. And then Friday, I usually block Friday for office content if I want to make office videos. So I already have 2 days a week blocked off now, and that allows me to really get done what I need to do without having to work on the weekends. Now, before, when I was starting, I was working, all during the week, filming on Saturdays or filming on Sundays or, anywhere I could squeeze it in. But now that things are under control, we have people in place. Now I structure everything to fit my schedule.
Now, you sort of touched on something there where you have all this automation in the background. Is that the easiest way to make sure that your work-life balance is in balance?
Well, yeah, absolutely. If that's what you're looking for, I don't know. I feel I could work every day. I would be perfectly happy, but I can't say the same for the people around me, so
Yeah.
they want me to take some time off, but otherwise, yeah, you have to have, if you are an agent with a license, you're not a business owner. You're self-employed, and you're going to be trading your time for money. You're just doing it for yourself instead of somebody else. And this lines up directly with the cash flow quadrant. If you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the follow-up book is the cash flow quadrant. And if you want to move from the left side to the right side of the quadrant, which is the right side is the business owner and the investor, to be a business owner, even in real estate, you have to have systems, processes, or people in place so that the work can continue without you being there. So, you don't have to have there's a lot of top producing teams, where the team leader is not in production. They don't have a YouTube channel, but they have the systems and the processes and the people in place so that they can do those things. But for me, it's definitely allowed me that opportunity. And I just know I don't have to prospect all the time, or if I miss a week because I go on vacation, or if I want to go to Vegas for 3 weeks, I don't feel bad because I'm not, I'm not prospecting for 3 weeks in a row, which most people, that's why they don't like to take time off or vacation, because they're like, well, shoot, if I take time off, it really costs me more money because then I'm not building my business or, something like that. So I just don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah. One of the most brilliant things you said in your book was that each piece of content, each video is like having somebody that works for you that you don't have to pay, and they're working 24/7. And that really hit a chord with me. I was like, that's so true. You have all these people or videos out there, and they're all working for you. And many times, and this is one of the most brilliant things that I've found after reading your book, was that the people that do get to you and call you up, they already feel like they know you because they've watched several of your videos, and they phone you up and they think that they already have a relationship with you, and you don't need to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
It's really great. So what has you most excited about your real estate business looking into the future?
Just continuing to grow and expand. We're working with a lot of key people right now to help expand our education side so we can help more people do this. And I just looked at this yesterday, and I didn't even realize it. like we've helped 34 channels already reach well over 1,000 subscribers. Some of them, 5, 10, 15, even over 20,000 subscribers. And that's not even counting the ones under 1,000. So I'm just looking at the ones that have hit, 1,000 subscribers that I know of. I know there's more because, not everybody usually comes forward all the time or tells us their success. I meet people all the time. And I was actually at EXPCon Canada last year, and I ran into somebody in an elevator, and they're like, "You don't know me, but I've made $40,000 already off my YouTube channel because of you." Never knew who they were. So I know we probably have 2 or 3 times the amount of success stories out there that I even know about, but ones that I do know about, we've got 34 channels, over 1,000 subs, which is pretty cool, and a lot more heading in that direction. So we're looking how to better serve them and to help people grow and just get the word out a little bit more. And so we're doubling down on that this year.
Brilliant. You're helping so many people, myself included. Now, one of my favorite segments on this podcast is called the Rapid Fire Round. So are you ready for it?
All right, let's go.
Okay. I know the answer to this first one, but what is the one piece of technology that you can't do without, and you're not allowed to say the MLS or your cell phone?
Well, YouTube. Is that a piece of technology?
Pretty easy on that one. What's the best book you've ever read and why?
Oh, wow. The best book. I think about, there's many. I think about the 48 Laws of Power. I thought was a really cool book. And I would say probably one of my favorite books as a business book that you've probably never heard of is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth.
Okay. No, I've never heard of that one. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's about a Canadian astronaut, actually, which, by the way, faced insurmountable odds because when he was going through, or trying to become an astronaut, you could only be an astronaut if you were U.S. or Russian. There was Canadians could not do that. So not only did he have that against him, but then you talk about 5,000 applicants and they're looking for 1 spot or 2 spots, and so to get through that process, and he did that. And then to think about it, which we don't think about this, he only went to space 3 times in his 22-year career, which means he trained to go to space in about 7-year increments. And you think about doing the work without getting the immediate reward. Imagine that. Imagine working on something for 7 years and then, you go to space. And the funny thing is like he said, it would take, 9 minutes to get to space. And that was 50% of the mission. That was 50% of whether you live or die is that first. So you train for 7 years and then 50% of your success depends on the first 9 minutes, and, he just talks about training. They train 1,000 ways to die. So then they have to reverse engineer how not to die. So they look at so many different, the lessons in there and the commitment is just mind boggling. I just don't think that people understand what it takes to be an astronaut. And if you're like me, like a kid of the 80s, I think we all wanted to be astronauts growing up. And so,
absolutely,
it's just a cool story.
Yeah, sounds great. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Man, best business advice I've ever received. I think now is one of my business coaches. His name is Gary Harper. He said, "I will never start a business until I have the operator in place." And that's something else that Ryan Pineda, who I work with, I'm actually at Ryan Pineda's office now, said. Ryan said he won't start a business until he has the operator in place. And so that's something that I always thought that being a business owner, you had to build it from the ground up yourself. And that's not the case. You just need to hire the right person and put them in place, put them in charge, and let them, really build the company. And I'm not saying build it for you, but build it with you to implement, to execute, so that you can continue to work on what you need to work on as the business owner or as the visionary.
Yeah, I always think there needs to be 2 people. It's always a partnership in business where you have the visionary and you have the operator.
Yep.
And they have to work simultaneously. And every successful business has those 2 people in place.
Yep.
That's brilliant. So imagine you woke up tomorrow morning in a brand new world, identical to Earth, but you knew no one. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have. Your food and shelter is taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do to resurrect your real estate business in the next 7 days?
I'd make YouTube videos, and I'd use that $500 for somebody to edit them.
Beautiful, beautiful. I knew that was coming. So before we say goodbye, Levi, give us a quote that has guided you in your life.
Pray like it all depends on God, but work like it all depends on you. So it's one thing to just, hope is not a strategy. They could say, faith without works is dead. It all kind of falls in the same line, but it's you can pray and you can hope and you can wish all you want, but you really have to take action. And I think that's where the true blessings come, is whenever, your action meets your dreams or your expectations. And that just comes from work. You have to put in the work no matter what you're doing, and you have to have a commitment on that work and just, push through. And you can push through. We hear it all the time. Some of the most successful business people out there overcame the biggest adversities, and usually right before they hit their biggest success. So sometimes your biggest downfall or setback could be the biggest blessing in your business. And so you just have to think about, what can I learn from this situation, and how do I grow, and how do I maybe possibly not repeat this situation, and how do I get better? So ultimately, I do love that one, which is just, pray like it all depends on God, but work like it all depends on you.
Absolutely. Work always works. So thanks a lot for being on the podcast today, Levi. It was really, really enlightening, and it's such a pleasure to meet you after reading this book. I figured I already knew you, but thank you very much for enlightening us a little bit more on your success with YouTube. Now, one of the things that we like to do on the podcast is build an incredible referral network. How does somebody with a client that is either coming into Dallas or leaving Dallas get a hold of you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is through Instagram. And I know, funny that I'm a YouTube guy, but yeah, that's the easy way. Or hit me up on Instagram, Levi Lascsak, and I get a lot of DMs on there. We get a lot of referrals. We close deals, all right? We make it happen. We know how to win a deal for a buyer. We know how to sell a home very quickly. So if you got anybody moving to Dallas or anybody that you need to move out, either way, we can handle them. And of course, our reputation has been built on the channel. And the cool thing is that you could send our channel to your client as well. So then your client can watch their channel before we even, communicate with each other. And that gives them a sense of who we are as well. So that always works out. But yeah.
Start that relationship early with your clients so that they know who they're going to on the other side, and know that they're going to be taken care of. Well, I'll put all that info in the show notes so that anybody listening to this, just go to the show notes, click on that, and you can get connected with Levi. Once again, my friend, thank you so very much. I hope at one of the events here soon that we get to meet face to face. I was at that Canadian EXP Con, by the way, and that was my first introduction to you, Levi. And then I went out and got your book. So
thank you.
Thank you very much. Brilliant speaker. If anybody has a chance out there to see Levi speak live, I highly suggest you do it. You will learn an absolute ton. So thanks a lot, my friend. We'll talk real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Total Agent Access. Head on over to iTunes, hit subscribe. While you're there, leave us a review. 1 star's okay, but 5 stars is even better.